Okay, this far as I'm going to go with this right now. I haven't done no sanding or nothing, but it's looking pretty good. It might be a little thick, but the next thing I do is I gotta design the runner that's going to go across here and around, and I'm guessing probably about 2.5 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and get that going. Okay, what I'm going to do is go ahead and cut the border around the bottom. So this is around 20 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and take out about 21-inch, cross cut about 21 inches. When I rip this into 2 pieces, that'll do the front and the back. And then this is around 12 inches. So from there, I'll come out, I'll cross cut 12 inches, rip this down to 2 pieces, which will give me both sides. Okay, got my 12-inch, I can get 2 pieces of that, and I got around 21-inch where I get 2 pieces of that. So next thing I'm going to do is plane both sides gently, joint one side, and the side that's jointed I'll set through the rip fence on the table saw, and I'm going to cut out 2.5-inch pieces on each one. I now have my 2 12s and my 2 21s. They're about 2.5 inches each. I'm going to go ahead and send all edges through the jointer. From there I'm going to take it back to the planer, and I'm going to go ahead and thin them down to probably about the size of the top. This is the top. I turn it upside down. Okay, now I already cut the lengths on these. What I did is I made sure that you got a 1/2 inch space here, 1/2 inch down here, and 1/2 inch here. Okay, these are done. Now I'm going to show you how I cut I'm going to do the other 2. They're going to be the same way as this when you cut them, but they're going to go inside. Alright, so I need them both the same length, so let's go show you how that's done. Okay, so what I did is these ends are already cross-cutted. Now they notice they're perfectly flat with each other. Then I clamped them on here, made sure they're pushed down, and clamped them on. Here's my length right here, so I'm going to go ahead and cross-cut that. So now I got them cut out, and they're going to fit in probably, I'm going to offset them maybe 3/8 of an inch in on both sides for both ends of this. So okay, we got that done. Okay, now that we got this boards and everything set up for length and basically designed pretty good there. Remember, I'm just doing this just by looking at it. So next step is to go ahead and send these through the planer. I want to thin them down, they're too thick. Okay, I got it planed down. This is a little thinner than the top. Okay, so this is basically done. I'm not going to put it together yet because I still got to design the top of it. Okay, so what we're going to do here is kind of just set this up here. So that's the way it'll kind of look. Now I'm going to run a small border here and a taller one back here, and then a smaller one that ends here. So I got to cut these out. So that's our next step. Okay, I got the top done. I went and set up. I set the table out and I put a piece of it's a thick, you know, like a, I guess butcher table, butcher block paper, whatever it is, but I sat there and put it down and I drafted this out for the design of the back. Okay, so what it'll do is it'll go up, it's going to sit like so on the back of this, but I look at it, it's a little low. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it a little wider. I'm going to probably have it about there. Alright, so I got this piece of wood here, set this on so like, and I'm going to give it an extra 1/2 inch on each side. So I'm going to cross cut here. And then from that point, I'm going to rip it. Right now it's 4, so I'm going to rip it to about 5 inches, so it's a little taller, so it matches better on the size of the back table. So I'm going to cross cut, and then I'm going to rip it. Okay, I got it cross cutted. If you noticed here, I got it probably 1 inch longer than I need it, but I always do that in case you can always cut it off, but you can't add. So From here I'm going to go ahead and joint this edge. Alright, from here I'm going to go ahead and send it through the planer on both sides just to square it up. Then I'll go ahead and rip a 5-inch piece out of this. Okay, I got the thickness I want on here, so first thing I'm going to do is just to go ahead and do a 90 cross cut just to make sure this is 90. Then I'm going to go ahead and set it, I'm going to give it about 1/8 inch or so between this design edge here and the edge of this. So 1/8 inch there, and then once I cut this I'll go mark and then cut it down so it's about 1/8 inch on this side. All right, looking good. Next step is gonna have to go ahead and put this pattern on here. Now I added 1 inch, so I'm gonna put the pattern of this on the top up here and make sure it's about even across. Okay, then I'm gonna draw it out of the pencil, and then I'm gonna take a jigsaw and just cut it, the top part out of the jigsaw. Okay, I went and traced it out, so here's what I got when I'm done tracing it. Okay, from there I'm going to take a jigsaw and I'm going to follow this line all the way around. Okay, got to cut out. Next steps, take it over the drill press, and I'm going to put the sanding wheel on it, and I'm going to use an 80, and I'm going to go across and straighten all this up. That completes it. Of course, I got a lot of sanding to do here, but I also cut it down. It was too high. Let me show you why I did that. All right, I ripped it down a lot lower. I wanted more proportionate, plus I kind of made, see this here, the same height as this piece right here. This is, of course, a little taller, so it's more proportionate, so it looks a lot better. So basically we have about 2.5 inches, and this here is 2.5 inches. So then from there you got 3 1/4. Okay, I got the height of this that looks really good. It was around 5 inches. I got it about 3 1/4 from this point to through the tabletop. Now you cannot rip this down because you got no surface on this side, so I just kept sending it through the joiner until I got it to the thickness I wanted. Okay, so I got about 1/8 inch on this side, 1/8 inch on the back. Now I'm going to make a little design on both edges here. So I'm going to take this piece of wood, and I measured it. It's around 11 inches out here. Remember, I always have extras. So I'm going to cross cut this to 11 inches. Then I'm going to go ahead and rip it down. Well, for now we'll go for 2 inches. I can always send it through the joiner and make it, you know, less thickness. So for now I'm going to go 2 inches, but let's cross cut, then we'll rip 2 2-inch pieces. from here we'll take it over to the table saw and rip down two 2-inch pieces. Okay, I'm going to be doing cutting both ends here at a 90. I want to cut them again to make sure, because the piece I got here, this is going to be resting against this. So I want to make sure that both of these are at 90. Now I put X's on this end because I ain't worried about that end yet. So let's go ahead and cut this off. Alright, next step is I'll be able to drawing a design to cut out on the jigsaw on these two pieces. Now before I draw my design, I want to get the length correct on this. So here's the X, so I'm going to make sure I put it this way, because I want this side, this is already 90, got a 90 on it, so put it there. Now remember, this is just all looking at it and eyeball, and I'm guessing probably end about right here, probably 3/4 of an inch from the edge. So, all right, now I'm going to go ahead and cross cut both these pieces to that. All right, next step, I'm going to put a design in it, and we're going to use a jigsaw to cut out that design. All right, next step, I'm going to take it over to the drill press. Of course, I'm going to start sanding it down. All right, it's ready to, I got the 80 grit on here. So remember, this is my design. I came up with it. Like the backboard, that design was mine too. You can make any design you like. So, all right, let's get started on this. Got them done. If you put them together like so, they should match up pretty good, and they do. So next step is we're going to have to, well, I think I'm going to put a round edge on these, just a little bit of an edge with a router. All right, I took everything, just rounded off all the different pieces already. They're ready to go. So there's the one piece, the second one rounded both sides, and the long pieces that go across the bottom of the top, I rounded these off here on both ends, and of course this piece right here, got it all rounded on both sides. Now next step is go back to the drill press, and I'm going to do the spindle sander with a 120 on here, and then I'll do a 400 and really polish up all these edges and get them all looking good. Okay, got them all polished up with that 400. I decided to put a couple of grooves in the front of the table. So what I did is I got the router out. Okay, it's unplugged. Now if you notice, I have a V-bit in here that barely sticks out. Yeah, it's up to you how deep you want to go, but that's what I'm going to do on it, about that deep. And I clamped this to the tabletop with this. Now I'm using this for my straight edge. So butt up a square, run it up, make sure that it's square across here, and this is the width you want. So from this end to here, if it's 5 inches, then go from this end to here and then cut it for 5 inches. Then you know your right exact where you want it. Now you lean this against here, set it down, get it straight across, start up, and then just run it right through, and this is what you'll get out of that. Okay, I already did it, so this is done. Okay, I got the distance right here is the same as the distance on this side. And how I know that? I got this set up and I put it, slid it down, and it just touches. If you go to the other end and do the same thing, it just touches. So now I know I got this right in the middle here. And then what I also did is this is around 1/2 inch thick. Okay, and it's like almost the length of the table itself. Okay, so what I did is I set this down. I set it on top of this. All right, then I made sure that when you put this across, see, everything stays the same. I got the right length, and I just slowly tighten this down. Kind of hold down on everything, make sure everything. Then when I tighten this clamp down, okay, now I got the right depth back here. This is what I want. You know, you can make this any thickness you want, but I got it about right here. Okay, now from this point, you're going to have to reverse the clamp, take everything, and put it back, like so. All right, let everything sit free as it can. Put your clamp on. Just kind of snug it up a little till everything kind of rocks together. This way you can push down. Make sure everything's about the same. Hold down. Snug it up. Now we're going to put pencil marks back here. Okay, be careful, don't put them too dark. So probably right in this area, because that's where I'm going to be putting the screw. Put another screw right in here. Remember, don't put the pencil mark too deep. You don't want to dig into the wood, because you're going to have to sand it out. Okay, got that. Then just gently tip it up. Then you're going to mark back here, the same on the other side. Just gently. Okay, now when you take it apart, I got the bottom side. This is the bottom. Okay, and I have it set up with my lines here, here, and here. Now I'm going to go in between them and mark where I'm going to be drilling the countersink hole. Okay, I got my lines. Okay, I got both lines here, here, and here. Now I put this up here just to see how far I want to come in with the screws. So I put this up here. The screw will go into this right about here, which is good. You don't want to come in too far because this might bow up over time. So right about here. So I marked it, put a pencil mark there. Then I come across, do the same on this side with a pencil mark. Now the pencil mark's in between the lines. Okay, and then the overall length is 20 1/4. So I came to 10 1/8, and I marked another line there. Okay, so this is where my screws are going to go into this piece here. So from here, I'm going to take a 9/32, which I'm going to be using all number 6 wood screws. Okay, so a 9/32, and just drill these out just a little bit to countersink the head of the screw itself. Now this is the bottom of the top now, because we're going through to lock this on. Okay, so now I'm going to go with the drill press and countersink those. Yeah, put this back on the top of the top. Okay, remember earlier we drilled the back side of this, just we did a countersink on the back, but make sure this is on your top now. Okay, I already had this earlier, we had this lined up, so just double check. Make sure it's the same length outward on both sides, which is good. All right, now I push down, I still have that piece of wood under there. Okay, I push down on this and tighten this down. Then I added a clamp on the back. I push down on this and tighten this down. I don't want this to move when I put in my pilot holes in the back. So start it and go all the way in with it. Same with this one. Okay. Now we always do it this way. We always drill the countersink hole first, and then we drill the smallest one all the way through both pieces of wood second. Third is we just drill out the back piece so the screw can slide through. Okay, the last hole to drill is just through the top itself. This is a 9/64, so the screw can drop through this. So let's drill through these. Okay, I drilled the 9/64, and if you notice, the screw passes through just perfect. It ain't too loose and ain't too tight. That's what you want. So when you go to put this piece on like so, you already got your hole here. When you go to put it on, it's going to line up and strap right down. Okay, what I did is I went and put it on here. Remember, I'm using number 6 wood screws for the whole thing. Okay, we got them back here. I torqued them down just enough where it's nice and tight. And if you noticed, I put a B with some tape on here. That's for back. The reason for that is when you're going to go to put it back together, you don't want this the other way, because then the holes won't line up and it's going to come out it'll come out wrong, put it that way. So B is for back. Now, next step. We're going to be putting these on. So what I did is I set them up. I got my square to where it's right about here. Looks about right, and then I butt it up. And I push flat, and I mark gently with a pencil on both sides. Then I put a line across here showing about where I want the screw height to be. Now I did this on both sides. Alright, and I put a line on both sides, and then I put a mark across on the height where I want the screw to come through. It's going to come through this way. Next step is take this over to a drill press and do what I did on the back of this. Get my countersinks, one on each side, because the screw's going to run through, and lock onto this. Okay, so I'm going to take this off and we'll go from there. Okay, what I did was I went and drilled out 2 plugs out of here. This is cherry wood, so see the grain here? I kind of try to match it with the grain here. Then I drilled it out. Now this is a 3/8. Those are 3/8 holes there, so now that the plug then go in there, but I'm going to kind of match the grain with both of these. I did it both the same. Okay, next step. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to screw this back onto the top, and then from there we're going to take these and we're going to lock them in through the back. Okay, I set this on here, and I made sure that I set how far in I want it. That's about where I want it, so I put this on across to make sure that when I go to do the other side, I'm following this. So I butt it against the other side so they're both the same here. Now, what I did is, once I did that, I made sure this was up tight against here, and then I clamped it. From that point, I took the 1/16 drill bit and ran it through, all the way through like so. From there, I took a number 6 wood screw, about a 1 inch, and then I ran it in. All right, now you can release the clamp, and there's where we sit so far. And I already did the other side. If you notice, it's already done too. Okay, from that point, if you noticed, We have our countersink hole where the plugs I drilled out. Not yet, because I got to take this apart, but sooner down the road we're going to be plugging that up. Okay, the next step is we're going to want to put a screw right in here somewhere to hold this down. And we got it here so we hold this down. So we're going to put a screw in this side, and then of course one on this side. Okay, this is already screwed on. This part is screwed onto here. Then we have this set right here because we know how far in we want to go. We'll take it over here too. Set it on here. Make sure it's the same here. And then once it's the same, lock it down with a clamp. Then you want to take it, and you noticed right here we got it countersunk, and then we put the pilot hole in and we put a screw into it. Now this is done. Now go ahead and do the same to the other side, and then from that point we will do the next step, which is to do the bottom base. Before we do the bottom base, we want to put it all together with screws. No glue yet, just screws to make sure everything's looking good and lined up. All right, it looks real good. Okay, now on the back, I had that B on there for back. You can take it off now because you can't make a mistake. But what I did on this, inside here, I put one on this and I put one on this. So I know this goes to this side, and then of course this will go to this side. All right, so we got it all together from this point. We're going to go ahead and build the bottom and go from there. I took the back piece on the top off and the two side rails. I took those off. Now this is the top of it. It's laying upside down. Now I clamped this piece down. I got a block of wood on each so it doesn't damage any of the wood. But the reason I'm clamping it here and here is so these, you know, the seam here stays real tight. Now this piece of wood that's in here, it's the same length as these two pieces. I got a piece in here, and there's going to be a piece here. But these three pieces are the exact same length. The purpose of that is so I can put this clamp on and clamp this so it stays where I need it to stay. So when I go to line up the screw holes here, it's going to line up. Now I clamped this side down too, so it's tight in here. Now this won't move on the table because I got a clamp. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill the smallest hole all the way through. This is backwards. I usually do it the other way, but this will still work. I'm going to screw it all the way on this side, and I'm going to drill all the way on this side. Now, if you notice the back, I'm not worried about yet. It's on there, but okay, I'll switch it around afterwards and do the back too. Okay, so the first thing I want to do, I already got it center punched here, and I already got it the way I want it. So put it right in the center punch hole, go all the way through. Okay. From there I'll take it and do the 3/8 on the drill press, drill out the 3/8 hole. Then the third one I'll just drill through this so the screw slides through this piece here. Okay, so I'm going to reverse this. Put it on this side now. Okay, see now that pushes this piece down tight with the top too. All this is nice and tight in here. Well, I said it. And I already did the back and forth by doing this. I put it on here. It's the same as putting it on this side. And now I know this piece and this piece are exactly hanging over the exact same on each side here. All right, so we'll go ahead and do this hole. Okay, now I'm going to reverse it and do the back side the same as I did here. Okay, I got the back side done now. I'm going to take it over the drill press and drill the 3/8 countersink holes in all four pieces. I mean all four corners. Now I numbered 3, 3, 2, 2, 4, 4. Don't worry about this because if you line that up, it's going to be right. Now you're doing that because you already drilled the holes all the way through. You want to make sure they line up correctly. I took this apart. Now there's one thing you want to check once you take all the pieces apart. See how the screw kind of brings the wood out a little bit on here. You want to make sure you move that, so when you tighten it down, it's going to tighten down, because this could keep it up a little bit. So remove all these little you know, I guess you call them splinters, whatever, that stick up, but remove all that. Now I got this screwed together. It's not glued. Okay, now this will twist, so you got to be careful. So I got these pieces here. I sent them through the planer until I got them probably 1/2 by 5/8. Okay, now what you want to do is, once you got these level, twist this until you get it even across. Once you do that, you take the piece and make sure it fits in just like that. Okay, now I sanded this edge only, and I sanded the top and this side only, and I sanded the edge on both of these, for the simple fact is, you know, you don't want to run your finger across there and get it cut, because it is pretty sharp. All right, so now I got them fitting on both ends here. This point, I'm going to take it apart, and I'm going to put a pilot in here, and I'm going to screw this piece to this with some glue. All right, but I'm going to make sure this is a little higher. I want a space in here, you know, maybe 3/1000ths of an inch space, 5/1000 inch, just so when I screw this down to the top, this will drag it down. Okay, so let me show you how that goes. What I did is, this piece I put here, you notice there's just a little lip. I moved it in just a little bit, all the way down. Okay, then I clamped it so it won't move. Now I set my drill bit at the right length here, so if I go all the way down, see, it's not going to go all the way through, but it's enough to give me the pilot for the screw. So the first hole I'm going to build is right here, all the way down to it touches. And the second one, and then the last one over here. All right, from there I'm going to go ahead and drill this out, countersink the screw head on all 3 of them, and then I'm going to drill this part out just enough where the screw goes through. Okay, I got them countersunk, and then if you notice, I got it drilled out. Now the screw is only about so long, so if you put it up here, it's not going to come through there, so that's perfect. This is number 6 by 1 inch. Okay, the next step is to make sure you take a chisel and remove any kind of wood that may be sticking up on this. You want to get that so it lays flat on here. Okay, next step is a light, really super light bead of glue across here. Very little, just enough to lock it on. You don't want much. Now you put it on so, like so. Line up that screw, the hole we got. And just run it in a little bit, not all the way, because you want to line up the other screws before you do that. Once you get the lip, then go ahead and just snug these down. Don't have to be super tight, just snug them down. Alright, okay, that's all set. We got just a little lip on here, not much, just enough to make that work. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, remove these 2 end pieces, and then I'm going to screw it onto this side, and then we're going to do the same thing on this one. The reason I took this off the other side is because you can't get the drill in here to drill. Okay, so now I got this one set up the same way I did the last one, and I got the height of the drill bit where it stops right there and goes in. So I'll do the 3 holes, and then I'll go ahead and glue it down the same as I did on the last one. Next step is to glue these together. So now one thing is, if you're running this screw in and out, you know, 3 or 4 times, it might not tighten down. If it doesn't, remember this is number 6 by 1 inch. Make it a number 6 by 1 1/4. when you run it in, it'll tighten down. You don't have to do no drilling. Just run a 1 1/4 inch in if you can't get the screw tight. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to load it up with glue. Now have yourself a rag ready so we can wipe all the excess off. Remember, this is ingrain, so it's not going to be the strongest glue, but it'll still work pretty good. Now you're going to put it on like so. Go ahead and run in the screw. Alright, that tightened down good. Now double check to make sure that this is straight all the way across. So tweak it if you have to before it dries. Make sure that it's straight. Now we do the same to all 4 corners. Go ahead and wipe this down with a damp rag. Then do all the other 3 sides. Okay, I went over, all 4 corners are glued. Alright, check, double check. Make sure that when you're looking at it, that this is lined up with this piece. You know, the top here is lined up. Go to all 4 corners, check them. All right, they're tightened down. Make sure you really get all the glue off. It's real important to get all the glue off of this. Okay, now we got, what we're going to do is I'm going to let this sit overnight. Then tomorrow I'm going to cut a strip for in here and one for this side, and we'll put it in. But for now, let's let this sit overnight and set up. I received the legs from Gordon. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to team up. So he's turned the legs for me, and of course I'll be building the top. These look great. So remember, we're going to be linking up our sites to each other, so you can follow these being turned along with this being built. Okay, our next step is to take this. This is dried overnight. All this is glued together and dried. From here, I'm going to go ahead and cut out a strip for back on this side and one for this side. Okay, then I'm going to do the same thing I did here, screw and glue it on. Okay, and then from that point, we're going to go ahead and drill some 3/8 maple plugs, and then I'm going to put them in, glue them in here, and glue them in here, then sand them down. Okay, I got these 2 put on now. I put them on the same way as I did these 2, so everything's glued and everything's screwed down on this. This is totally done when it comes to that. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to be drilling out some plugs for this. Yeah, I need plugs for the front and the back. So like I said earlier, you don't want this more like a 1/2 inch thick, because this will burn before it actually cuts through. So I'm going to try to match the grain the best I can when I drill out the plugs. Okay, so we're going to go to the drill press and do that. Okay, the first thing you want to do is take some sandpaper and just sand off the edge here so it goes in here easier. So just kind of remove the edge so it'll slide in. Now, I put a pencil line on there before I drill this out so I know which way the grain runs. Okay, so from that point, I'm going to line it up about like so and then tap it in. Okay, so you want to put some glue on it. Kind of put it around the edges so it drops down in there a little bit. Yeah, see how it's going down in there? And I take my pencil line and I kind of line it the way the grain's going. And then from that point, tap it in all the way down, nice and firm. From there, you want to wipe off the glue and do that with all 4 edges of the wood itself. Okay, I got the top 2 plugs in only. Now what I'm going to do is I remove some of the glue here, and when this dries I'm going to take it over to the bench sander with 80 grit, and I'm going to remove this down until it gets flat with this, then I'll work it to 320 grit. Okay, I got the 80 grit on here, so I'm going to just touch until I get this down almost level with this, because you take your time. You don't want to go too fast or you'll dig into the front of this, so we're trying to remove this only. just perfect. From here I'm going to change it to a 120, 220, 320 and get these down. Then I'll go ahead and do the back side just like I did these two. Okay, I got it all sanded. There's the plugs, all looking good. Barely see it because I see if you can match the grain pretty good, it comes out pretty cool. Okay, now next step is already measured this. This is about what I need here to go all around this. So I'm going to butt it up, make sure it goes all the way around. And once we line it up, like so, I got the clamp set up and put a clamp right here. From this point, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drill some pilot hole here, here, one here, and then 3 across here. Now I'm barely going to drill into the top of this. The simple fact is I only got about a 1/2 inch for the screw to lock down. So I want it to lock down real good. So I'm just going to barely go into this. Just enough where the screw head can hit into the drill part itself. Okay, first thing I did is I went over the drill press and I did the countersinks on all this on the drill press. Now I changed a little bit. What I did is I took the 5/32, which is the next smallest bit, and I set this up, I clamped it, and then I took and drilled the 5/32 in because the other drill bit was too short and the drill hit here. So I took the 5/32, drilled it in. You'll feel it drop off because of the little gap I got here. As soon as it drops off, it puts a little dent in this wood, which is perfect. So I took the 5/32 all the way around. Then I just ran in the screws with a 6-inch Phillips tip. Now this is number 2 Phillips tip. Okay, this works for number 6 wood screws and number 8 wood screws. Okay, now I got it all locked. It's all lined up. Now I'm going to take it apart, and from this point, we're going to go over what we have to sand and how to sand it. Okay, now like I said, barely countersink. You do not want the 1-inch number 6 wood screw to go through and come out this side. So barely countersink. Now, if you noticed, we have the little sawdust and some of this is sticking up a little. You want to remove all that. The things you do not sand and round off is this edge all the way around on the outside. Leave it sharp because you want it to tighten down really nice here. So do not sand this edge. Do not sand this edge or this edge. Do not sand it. Remove if this is sticking out a bit, remove that, but do not sand that. And these two here, do not sand this edge or this edge. We want it sharp as you can, so when it sits down, look, it looks real nice. Okay, from this point, we are going to go over and resand everything. If you have to use an 80 or 120 to get some dents out or scratches, go for it. Let's get it up to a 400. So from that point, we have to sand everything down to a 400. Next step is to get the legs put on. Now what I did is I just eyeballed it. I thought it looked pretty good right in there. So what I did is I took a combination square and butt it like this. So when I do the other 3 legs, I know they all go in about that much. Okay, from this point we're going to go ahead and glue and screw these legs on. So go ahead and put a generous amount of glue on it. You don't need a brush. Make sure you put some on this top part here. Okay, you want it to squeeze out. This is the number 2 Phillips. Alright, we're putting a number 6 screw in there, which is about 1 inch long. Okay, now I already got it lined up, so it should just go right in as long as I got the distance right. Okay, now the screw becomes your clamp. So from this point, you're going to take a damp rag and you're going to make sure you wipe all the glue out of here. You get every lick of glue off of this thing. Now what I do is I use a putty knife, and this way I can get in there real good with a putty knife. Okay. Alright, so you're going to do that to all 4 legs, but make sure you get all that glue off. Okay, I got all 4 legs on. This is the last one. A key point too is just because you remove the glue doesn't mean you could be smearing the glue around. So make sure you got a clean rag at all times. Rinse it out a few times. You don't want to smear the glue. You want to remove the glue. Okay, so the point of that is if you decide to stain this, glue will not, the stain will not take because the glue is on here. So it will look kind of bad. So make sure that you actually keep rinsing this rag and keep cleaning to get all the glue off. You don't want to just smear it around. Now that we got all the legs glued and all the glue removed, you want to let this dry, depending on the weather where you're at. You want to let it totally dry, then take a 400 over those parts you got wet again, just to make sure that they're all the same smooth across the whole thing. So take a 400 across it again once it's dry. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and do the top. First thing I did was I took the back top piece and I screwed it down. I got the screws in here, so this is pulled tight against the top. Okay, now the second thing is I'm going to go ahead and put glue on here. I got the screw ready to go. I'm going to put glue now. I'm going to go ahead and run the glue, run it up. Now you're going to have to hold this down real tight as you tighten this down because this will twist on you. Okay, from that point we have to take this top back off. Be careful, this will still move a little bit, so don't bump it. But take this off, wipe all the glue off, put it back on, then do the other side. Okay, it tightened down. Check. Is there any gap over here or here? Make sure it's really tight. From that point, take this off, wipe all the glue off, and then put it back on and do the other side. Okay, I got both sides on here. Now you see, notice how this drips here, then you got glue on here. That's why you take this off, and then we'll go ahead and wipe all that glue off. Just be careful, this can still twist, so be real careful when you're wiping the glue out of there. Okay, I got it all wiped down. Okay, be real careful with this. Don't make sure it doesn't twist. Now the reason I took it back off is so once I'm going to let this sit overnight so this glue dries, so I'll make sure this doesn't move. Then I'm going to go ahead and put these plugs in here. This way I can take it on the bench sander and sand. It'd be a lot easier for me. But if you had it on here, see, you couldn't do the bench sander, so that's why I did that. Okay, so let's let this sit overnight, and from there we're going to go ahead and put glue the plugs in, and then throw them on the bench sander and get them smooth. Okay, this is it's set overnight, so we're all set up. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put the plug inside both of these. Just set it there gently until I can rotate. Well, looks like about right. And there, take your hammer and pound that all the way in. Okay, do the same to the other side. Then wipe off the excess glue. Then I'm going to take it over to the bench sander and I'm going to sand this off with an 80 grit on both sides. Then I'll work my way up to a 320 grit. Okay, I got this done. If you notice, it's the plugs are all sanded down. Now I went over the whole entire top, bottom, and everything with a 400. Now it's time to go ahead and glue and screw this down. Okay, now if you notice, I got the screws sticking up. The purpose of that is when you got the glue on, you can line it up to find out, like, see that pops in there, and that drops in, and then these drop on that. Alright, so I'll show you how it works here. Now you don't need this screw yet because that's not important. Alright, now just a very, very small amount of glue. Don't need much. I'm going to put a little on the screw here just to give it a little strength to hold it. Okay, now I'm just eyeballing this. Alright, from there, line them up until they drop in like that. This drops in. Okay. And this one and that one, they all dropped in. Okay, from that point, hold it down. Okay, when you lift it up, notice how it pushes down. From there, we're going to just tighten them up a little bit, each one. Okay, now, Looking good. Now you want to go around, check everything, see if any glue squirted out, and it shouldn't, because you got just enough glue in it to really give it strength. Now a little bit came out here, so I'm going to get that out of there. So that's your next step. Remove any of the glue, and this piece is basically done. From here we're going to strap it to the base. I got myself set up for the top. I'm going to put it upside down here, so I got rubber padding, and this holds it from rocking, and this way I won't get any scratches in it. Now this here has been totally sanded with a 400 again. I rounded all these edges with the 400, but not the top. You want it sharp. So I redid the whole thing, sanded it real good. It's looking good there. Next step is to strap this to the tabletop. Okay, now here's the top. Now to put this together, you can go ahead and put it together. You don't have to wait for the glue to dry, because the screws will do the holding for you. Now I got it set here like so. Now it won't rock as you do it. And what you want to do is you want to run the glue just around the inside of these in here. Do not put it on this, because that won't catch. So just on the inside, just a little bit of glue around it. Not much. Grab a couple of extra long screws, number 6s, so we can line it up. So what I'm going to do is put one through here, and one through the opposite side. And let's turn this over. Down the side. So now we hold those screws down, and we're going to find the 2 pilot holes. We got 1 and 2. Now just drop it down. From there you're lined up pretty good. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and run some screws in on the opposite ends. Okay, now you take out the longer screws. Okay, and run them all in just medium snug. Okay, from this point you go around it and go ahead and tighten them down. Now if you use an electric screwdriver, be careful, because these will drive right down and come out the other side. I've been doing it quite a few years, so I know how the pressure works, so be real careful, otherwise use a hand Phillips on it. Okay, all the screws are snug down. From this point, we're going to go ahead and put tung oil on the entire thing. Now, I finished the inside here too, just like I would the outside, so I'm going to do tung oil inside too. I just believe in, if you're going to have real pretty wood, why not do the whole thing, even though you're not going to see it. So that's my belief. I like to finish everything off, even though you don't see it. So let's go ahead and get a coat of tung oil on that. This is a third and final coat of tung oil on the miniature cherry coffee table. Remember, I put the first coat on, used some extra fine steel wool and went over lightly, and then put another coat and did the same throughout each time. Now remember, wear a dust mask and some kind of eye protection when working with a steel wool, because it does float in the air. Little particles will float in the air. So this is done. I noticed when I went to use the rag in these corners, it didn't work too well. So I took a little bucket I found, a little plastic thing, filled it with some tung oil, and used the brush, and went in the corners, and then I wiped it down with a rag, and it came out really good that way. So this is totally done. I want to also show you that Gordon from Alberta, Canada, made the legs on this, and they came out really nice. So the product is complete. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter. We'd appreciate it. Other than that, you have a very good day, and we'll see you next time.